Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans! Welcome to another episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we are talking about Season 4, Episode 16, What If? Guys, it's a brave new, terrifying world! Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Wow, guys, it's been so long. Are we in the right studio?
Are we in the right reality?
Something feels kind of off, right?
It does. I'm telling you.
Wait, where's Jesse? Oh no, is he dead? No!
No, he's just sick.
He's just sick. Oh, well, guys.
Again, he's the traitor.
Well, as long as
you're
he's not
declaring
in
everyone the traitor here.
As long as he's not in a S.H.I.E.L.D. mass grave somewhere, that's what's important.
No promises.
Hi. Yeah, fingers crossed. Here's hoping. Hey, everybody, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans, we are back. It has been way too long since we've been back in the studio to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let me go ahead and introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Tehran.
Actually, I prefer my new name, Predictor.
The Predictor?
Yes,
like, do you want a the
El
in front of it?
The
Predictador.
I like El Predictor.
Like Matador.
El Predictador.
Tehran was pretty spot on, like, while we were watching through this episode.
Thank you. And,
Yeah.
and spot on. Before we got here, I'd like to throw that out there because when I said Hydra, everyone thought I was crazy.
Too bad you
And
didn't
they're
actually
back.
bet money on any of this,
I
because
know.
you would have totally won.
Wait, when did we think you were crazy?
All the time. All the time. But find me at I am Tehran on social atmosphere and tell me how crazy you think that I'm not.
To his left, Zach Wilson.
Hey, guys. Zach Wilson back here. So excited to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If anybody watched Marvel movie news a couple weeks ago, I might have done a puppet show out of sheer craziness.
And they call me
Just
the
going
crazy
stir
one?
crazy? Just going stir crazy?
No, it was like
because
me
of the
sitting in front of the camera with a little Daisy and a little Agent Carter, like creating crossovers in my head.
Did you do your fan fiction on a different show that
No.
wasn't this
oh,
one?
that's good fanfic though. I hadn't even thought. Well, it was just like weird crossovers that happened in my
wanted to
head.
make sure
Anyway,
that the fan fiction comes onto this show, not
didn't have
us.
to remind them that we made that promise,
Well-
Megan. They might have forgotten.
Speaking of, hi, I'm Megan, guys. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to send Jesse your well wishes. We are really bummed he's not here with us tonight. But yeah, I'm getting over a cold as well, so please make sure you guys.
I'm not. I have all the energy, despite the fact it's 11:06 p.m.
It's a little on the late side, so thank you everybody who's staying up with us via the live chat.
I've got you guys in the live chat.
You guys
Thank you
are
so much for
Awesome.
joining us.
So speaking of fan fiction and like AUs and crossovers, we get a what if story, so to speak.
I love, like, I think I said this when they I don't know if they announced it at the time, but like I love that they are like that the episode called What If, and like because that's just it's a comic book thing that Marvel has done, like the What If series. They've done a ton of them, so it was a great way to pay homage to
Marvel comic books in general are really good at what if stories. Like, what if Superman had landed in Russia? DC, completely different.
No, he's a
thing.
comic book character. Like we can, because like
We can talk about DC. It's just X-Men that we can't talk about.
yeah, they don't exist.
They don't exist.
DC exists as comics.
DC
X-Men.
exists.
But,
X-Men don't
But there's a
exist.
story
No,
called
no.
Red Sun that talks about what would happen if Superman had landed in Russia instead of the United States. Marvel has done lots of what if storylines. Like, I think there was a noir Spider-Man at one point, which was
there's
pretty
a ton of them. There's even like a whole series that Neil Gaiman did where it's Marvel 1608.
That's awesome.
Like, what if all the superheroes were in the 1600s?
What if all
really
the
cool
superheroes
stuff.
were
this
zombies?
So here's the what if. Here is what if, like, basically Phil Coulson didn't join S.H.I.E.L.D. and then what if a couple different pieces from
Bahrain
S.H.I.E.L.D.
hadn't happened.
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think this is a world that takes away people's pain. I think it just as it's a very interesting world that Ada has constructed for everybody, and I like that they are able to pinpoint specific instances that show just how dystopian the world would be had not certain choices been made. And I love the Hydra throwback because Winter Soldier was one of my probably is actually my favorite Marvel movie. I like
Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier, yeah, even above the Avengers a little bit, because it's just such a good spy thriller.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that all day. Winter Soldier is structurally just a very well done movie. Avengers is fun as a great comic book movie. Winter Soldier is
a great spy movie, and what it did for the Marvel Universe, especially for this show, was so interesting and so unique, and the ramifications from that film on this show were something that completely changed the nature of the show for the better, I think. So that's one of the other reasons why I really like that movie as well. So getting this what if storyline with Hydra like replacing S.H.I.E.L.D. as the force that is supposedly keeping the world safe is both a really cool and really terrifying notion. Just because, I mean, Hydra saving the world, quote unquote, was kind of the plot, was the evil plot of that movie as well.
And I enjoy the what if Fitz was the coolest Fitz ever made. This is the coolest Fitz. Can we agree that this was the coolest?
He was torturing
Fitz?
a dude.
Was he torturing or was he examining?
Torturing!
Okay, fine. True. But his hair looked amazing while he was doing it.
He
okay?
looked pretty suave.
He was suave, but this what if scenario that exists right now is a what if scenario that is actually very plausible, and you see the true nature of certain people. For example, with Fitz, there's no Gemma. This is what Fitz might become. How do we know this? Because of Fitz's obsession with science and Ada.
Well, and again, go ahead.
I think you know with the science thing there is that this is Fitz just like being given all of the tools that he would need. Like, he's a brilliant scientist, and what they set up with him, like, what if, so I guess the what if you're going back is like, what if Fitz never had a Simmons? Like, what if it was just him? So they're basically suggesting that in that early stages, like the Winter Soldier, the pre-Winter Soldier days, he would have he would have gotten recruited by one of the Hydra agents that was undercover there. So when everything flipped, he would have been on that side. And like those few people, basically like a handful of people missing from the S.H.I.E.L.D. side in that battle tips the scales.
Well, and not to delve too deeply into predictions as well, but I think this is also a world where Fitz's father is still very much in the picture.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, he's quoting his dad he was just shy of stroking an evil mustache. Like, it is so cool to see evil scientist Fitz. Like, and it's so interesting too, talking about the without a Gemma, because all of those feelings for Gemma have now been projected onto Ada.
Yeah.
And that need to protect. I like in the preview, he even says, "I'd jump across the universe for you." It's like, of course you would, because that's what you did for Gemma.
Just 2 seconds ago, he was a horrible person who was torturing Inhumans.
In this world, he is. He's a monster without any conscience.
The sweet old Fitz is still in there somewhere.
Still in there.
He's the doctor.
How great is that he's the doctor, and Gemma's, of course, a big Doctor Who fan. And now Fitz refers to himself as the doctor.
Do you think when they get out of this, she's going to be like, "Can I still call you the doctor?" And he's going to be like, "No, that's really weird. That version of the doctor is like a super crazy like torturer." Here's a question. I'm just curious. And chat, I'm curious for you guys too. When they first were hinting at the doctor in those vagaries, who did you guys think that it was going to be?
I assumed Tehran just immediately predicted that it was Fitz. El Predictador.
Thought it was Fitz.
I didn't think of Fitz. Not that like it was like, oh, it could never be Fitz. It just didn't click in my brain because I started running through all these like former doctors that it could be, whether it was going to be. I was thinking
that Fitz was like a Tony Stark kind of guy. So actually, I didn't even think he was at Hydra at this particular time, because I'm picturing him off being the billionaire
Interesting.
playboy philanthropist.
I forgot about the shot that we had gotten the last time that like set him up as that thing,
As, like,
or
the-
it would have clicked better. But I was like, oh, did they secretly get Kyle MacLachlan back to be to be Mr. Hyde again, or it could have also been that could have been where we found Radcliffe, since we know he, at least the version of him that she downloaded, is running around this world somewhere. There's also been so many doctors over the years of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's so true. You know what was funny was because of all of the Hydra stuff, I immediately assumed it was the doctor from Captain America who was captured by S.H.I.E.L.D., whose name escapes me. It's like Zola.
The chat thinks a lot of people are saying
Zola.
they thought Radcliffe, just Jason says could have been Zola. Diana Matthews and a couple other people said Whitehall.
Yeah.
They thought it might have
Oh,
been.
that's interesting.
Oh, Whitehall could have made a comeback.
That's it. I didn't even think of
That
that.
guy
because,
who was there for
Predictator.
half a season.
Yeah, but-
Oh gosh, would Whitehall have would he have even gotten like his youth regeneration sort of thing? Like, would he have ever met Daisy's mother? Like,
Yeah, I think
I have
that.
so many questions.
I think that event is still in the timeline.
I don't know, man.
Because that was years before any of our people were like in Shield or
That's true.
and before Bahrain. So I think that
But this
still
guy could
happens.
also
The
just
question,
could have been rotting in a Shield prison and then like gotten killed when things.
yeah.
went
I mean,
down.
once you change one thing, any number of other factors could change. But in theory, he could still be out there running around with those powers because our people were never there to stop him.
I don't think we'll see him. I feel
No, there's a lot of other heavy lifting to do. We don't need Whitehall.
I'm loving the throwbacks though to season 1 and 2. Like it's a lot of fun to kind of go back and get the Tahiti references and
It's too many season 1 references.
too many.
Not in like there's too many references. It's like it's making me nervous because season 1 references are what happens when a show is
when a show
ending.
comes full circle. Yeah. Well, speaking of early seasons, why don't we go ahead and start off talking about where Sky started. Sky started off in this episode.
No, she says her name is Daisy.
Her name is Daisy. But like when people started referring to her as Sky, I just kind of gave Tehran this little look because he refuses to call her Daisy.
She is Sky. She will always be Sky. Sky, I love you.
I feel like this episode gave you a lot of validation.
Even Evil Ward is like, well, what's your real name? Like he knows. He's like, we'll call you what you want to be called.
Oh, that's nice, Sky. Here's the thing about Sky. Sky, in this episode, what I saw of her as far as being a heroine, I feel like she's coming through. And without her powers, I didn't know how nervous she was not having powers.
Yeah, she's come to rely on them a lot. When
Exactly.
she sees Ward, her first instinct, and I love that this is her first instinct is to blast him in the face. And she's like, dang it, son of a gun. So I love that.
I won't say
was...
what I had to say to that, but yes.
No,
continue.
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I cannot say that.
This is a panel discussion.
Oh,
Feel
it's just-
free.
I just feel like that's my first instinct when I see Sky. Anyway, continue. I had to say it. I didn't want to.
Wait, is to what?
Never mind.
Never mind.
If you didn't catch it the first time, you can't catch it now.
Anyway,
Something dirty.
This is a family
was.
show.
It was.
It was a family show before it moved to
This
10 o'clock
has
at night.
never been a family show, and I'm referring to the after show.
Yeah. That's very
Not as
true.
long as I've been here.
Nope. It hasn't been a family show like ever. Anyway, neither here nor there. So we get to see Brett Dalton come back as Ward, and I would just like to point out that I'm glad that this is an alternate version of Ward, that they are doing something a little bit different than. I know we expressed a lot of frustration at the end of the last sort of arc because we were like, Ward's story is done. We need to move on. As a show, we need to move on. We love Brett Dalton, but like the character, there's not much else that can be done with him because he's been a double agent. He's tried the redemption thing and failed at that, and then he became an alien zombie monster, and then he became a squid alien zombie monster.
And now he's a digital like recreation of himself where he is a double agent again, but for the good guys. And so here's what we've
Which
now
again,
learned.
another prediction by Tehran.
Thank you.
That was
and
correct.
Also, when you said we thought Ward's storyline is done, we did not agree to that. I really liked Ward coming back, and I was very happy that he was here. And
I feel
now
like
we
what
see that it's for the positive.
what we now confirm about Ward, because it was always like, you know, like I never felt like Ward was evil. Like he was in Hydra, but like
He's a
Ward
Nazi, bro.
Ward was evil. Let's not.
No. But like what I'm saying is like I never saw that he had like world domination as like a motivation. Like I don't know. I always wanted to know like
wandering
what.
around for a while because
Yeah.
he had no direction.
So I think what we've now confirmed is Ward basically is just like
Rebels
that
against the
rebellious
institution.
teenager who's like, well, fine, mom and dad who are in charge, I'm gonna go join the rebellion side. Doesn't matter what they believe in or what you believe in, I'm gonna rebel.
The rebellion side.
So if he's with S.H.I.E.L.D., he has to be a Hydra double agent. And if he's with Hydra, he has to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. double agent because he just can't commit to a single cause.
He is the hipster of secret agents.
He was like, I was in the Resistance before it was
Hilarious.
cool. I would just like to point out that I do think that I find it hilarious that I kind of chuckled to myself that the only way Ward gets a redemption arc is in a fantasy world where he's not real. Oh.
You did say that. And the thing about Ward's redemption in this is I feel as if it will entice Skye to fall in love with him the way she did in season 1
God,
for the
I
right
hope not.
reasons.
God, I hope
It's
not.
like redeeming her art because I know she felt betrayed by him more than just as a person, but emotionally, like, how was I not able to decipher that you were this person? And that's what happens.
I think what they're going for here is she's going to be able to move past her feelings of guilt because it was Ward that, in a weird roundabout way, caused Lincoln's death, which she felt a lot of guilt over. So I feel like this version of Ward, I feel like it's going to help her forgive both him and herself and allow her to move on. I don't think she's going to fall in love with this digital version of him, or if she does, it's not actually him. She's falling in love with a completely different person, quote unquote, if that's going to be the case. I really hope they don't go the romantic angle route because, quite frankly, I think I'd like to see her go on a date with Robbie Reyes. But, again, we've already done the romance thing with Ward, and I really feel like I would appreciate it a little bit more if he was just kind of a way for her to forgive herself, forgive him, and move on. And that's all that I need. I don't need another romantic, tragic subplot because ultimately he's not a real person and they're going to have to leave this world.
But this wouldn't be the first time that a character falls in love with someone that isn't real. So I think that they may, and I like the redemption of Ward, but I do find it scary because, as we point out, is this the last season of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is that why they're trying to tie up all these loose ends and put them together?
I
hope
so.
not.
I hope not either,
Yeah.
but kind of that's where signs are pointing.
We'll talk more about that and like rumors and stuff towards the back, but like I do feel like with what Ward is doing, like Ward is here to maybe help Daisy get over Lincoln a little bit more. Like this is like closure for a different part of her life. Like, I mean, she's not like, look, Daisy's not like taking the blue pill and sticking around in the framework, but
No, they tried to do the exact opposite. They were like, let's go.
I do feel like this is like this could be some kind of weird psychiatric like help for her because she's been down some dark paths. She went through a huge addiction and basically rehab arc recently.
That is true. I mean, it wasn't Ward, but like somebody who was inhabiting his body, she was addicted to that person in a weird way.
She was.
So yeah, I don't feel like there's going to be a romance, but I agree wholeheartedly that this is all going to be part of the healing process for her. Or at least that's the way I hope it goes. I don't know. It's nice to see Brett Dalton again.
Let's call him Ward. Thanks. Let's call him Ward.
It's nice to see Brett Dalton again, and I find it amusing that Ward always has to rebel in some way, shape, or form.
It is
There's some questions from the chat
go for it.
right now. It's like a big question. I mean, questions that we can ask a lot is like, where is X person in the framework? So like, there's like, where's Robbie Reyes in the framework? I would bet you that he's dead. Here's why. Pre ever becoming Ghost Rider, we know that if the events of Winter Soldier are reversed and those and they never get like shot out of the sky with their crazy, I forget what the program was called that they had in the helicarriers. They were going to assassinate all these people with Zola's crazy formula that was like
that crazy algorithm,
that knew an algorithm that knew the potential that everyone had and the dangers that they posed. That had people on it, like obvious people like Tony Stark, but it also had people on it like Stephen Strange, who was not yet
even close
Doctor
to being
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
They just knew that he had that potential. So I will bet you that like whatever that algorithm was knew that Robbie Reyes had the potential for this kind of danger, and they basically just sniped him from the sky.
It could also just be that because of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, you move a few things around. It could just be that Ghost Rider, didn't happen to be in the same area as Robbie when he and his brother got into the accident.
Or it could just be...
It could be that simple.
Don't worry about it.
Or the accident never happens. I mean, that's the whole consequence of the butterfly effect on a timeline. So we don't know how the timeline is actually being affected. And we have to remember, this isn't a change in time. This is a change in framework. So it's different. It's like Inception. So it's not like the Matrix where, the world is created and this is what happens instead. It's more like we've created a world scenario and this is what the world scenario is for the benefit of the people that had their minds washed, right?
This is Ada's version of what she thinks is going to make everybody happy. And that's warped in a number of ways.
It's so
Ada, or should I say Madam Hydra? What?
The director.
That was crazy.
I was gonna say, did you ever think that Madam Hydra would be an LMD/AI computer program?
No, absolutely not. They announced last week at or like a few days ago rather at WonderCon that like the Madam Hydra was gonna do this. Even then I did not think that they were gonna just slide Ada into that role. I have mixed feelings about that because it doesn't have to be the Madam Hydra of the MCU because like it's in the framework, so they could always bring in true Viper as she exists. But like, I guess it makes sense that Ada is like basically running the world because she has to.
It's her formulation.
So she installed herself at the top so that in this universe, if she changes something, that is fine because it came from the leader of the world.
Yeah, and she can do things like rewrite code, close exits without anybody noticing. She's like, I just have to turn this monitor this way, and you
now
don't
we're
have
back
to worry
to Matrix
about
world. Yeah.
Don't even worry about it.
By the way, neck and neck for me right now with Ada and Sky. Neck and neck. It's getting there.
I was gonna say, what do you guys think
in terms of who I love? I'm in love with Ada. I'm in love.
I mean, Sky's got the long hair again.
Sky's long hair is amazing. You know who I was very impressed with this episode? Jenna. Her acting was on point. It was amazing.
Elizabeth Henstridge, just as this season especially, has just shown off more and more what she is capable of.
No.
It is like she was good in other seasons, not like she was bad or anything, but we didn't have a chance. Like she just didn't have the moments to show this off.
Yeah.
And now they're throwing her into the most dramatic, dark, messed up stuff, and she's bringing it.
I feel like Gemma's character is the one that, for whatever reason, can be the one that can yell at Coulson, you're a great man, you're better than this, like the world shouldn't be this way. Everybody else, for whatever reason, their reactions are always way more understated. Like, we have a mission to accomplish.
Well, everyone else is much more intense, naturally, just most of the times. But Gemma is very controlled. Like, she's very, like, not meek, but, like, quiet. And so when she loses it on something, it has to be something big, and she's gonna go from, instead of going from like here to a little up here, she goes from down here to way up at the top. Like, it's an extreme for her.
We saw it in the episode prior to this as well, with the LMD and not knowing who to trust. Holy cow, she has just been absolutely phenomenal this season. And I feel like if there's anybody's performance in this final arc that's going to make me cry, it's probably going to be a performance from her. Like, 100%.
Well, we haven't seen what Ward can bring yet. But I do think it's interesting that it was Gemma who went and visited Coulson and was able to recognize that she needed to say it's a magical place, because that was a huge clue, and it led to the initial breakthrough for Coulson, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that was definitely a process. Like, I feel like if she hadn't been there earlier, Daisy wouldn't have been able to break through as easily towards the end of the episode. But let's not forget the fact that in this world, Gemma was straight up murdered. She was straight up assassinated by Hydra and dumped into a mass grave with a bunch of other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Like,
and a cover-up story was put in place where...
Yeah, she's deceased and she's buried in the UK, and it's very sad. It's like, no, that's not how that
Did you see who she was buried with?
No.
Oh, she was buried with Deathlock.
Holy cow! That's who that skeleton was?
If you look at the skeleton, there's a big chunk of metal over the side of his face. God. That was Deathlock in the grave.
Oh my god! Oh, that's awful.
That's what happens when you mess with Hydra.
Clearly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez,
yeah.
I completely missed that. Oh my gosh.
Can we say something about the Inhumans in this world, though?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk
well, hold
about
on. Before we get too far, because we were talking about the Tahiti moment,
Yes.
and there's some other like little Easter eggs that I want to.
Yeah, because you were.
Well, I was like double check.
Zach has an eagle eye.
I was like, those names mean something, and I double checked. Felix Blake was the former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was Coulson's old partner.
Wait, Agent
and he was
Blake,
like, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
and went
yeah.
in search of item 47 in
Good
that
call,
short.
Zach.
And
he founded the Watchdogs.
Yeah, he was a higher up in the Watchdogs after he got like curb stomped by Deathlock. Actually, I think it was. Yeah.
I don't know if he got curb stomped.
He got squashed. He got squashed when Deathlock was under Hydra's control.
And then the doctor that it says like the Winslow doctor, that's referring to Hyde.
Okay,
Calvin Zabo.
that makes so much sense.
That was where he, or I think that was the fake name that he went under, something like that. There was some,
but it was a
when
reference
he became
to Hyde.
the veterinarian.
Oh man.
So he's finding these names and these people, and he's like, it's close, because those people are still in this world, and he knows that it's close, that there's something familiar about it, but he can't put his finger on it.
He probably doesn't even know why he's cataloging all of this. And we saw this, in earlier seasons when he's compulsively writing all of this alien blueprints to try to find the location of, the underground city. And, it's just that compulsive, like, constantly searching for the truth and, to the point where it's almost driving him crazy. And, like, you see Tahiti, it's a magical place written over and over and over again. Like he's, Jack Torrance writing, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And so, yeah, like, knowing that he is this teacher who totally buys, I don't know if he buys into the propaganda, but he's certainly complacent with it for all of this anti-inhuman stuff, to the point where he allows students to get arrested in the middle of class. And
he's still got a soft spot for the cellist.
He does. And we get that little picture of like the calendar with a picture of the same make and model as Lola. And it's just this life that he led, but he doesn't understand. He probably doesn't even understand why he's collecting all this stuff. But yeah, it is really weird to see Coulson go, no, Hydra's not full of Nazis. No, they're the good
And
ones.
the way
That's
he
propaganda.
like puts his hand on the kid's shoulder, like
Ominous.
you don't think that. It's just like, oh my god.
But in a way, he was still trying to protect the kid by. He still has a protective nature over him, even though he did let the one kid just get taken by Hydra. But he did say, "Hey, don't forget your bag." That was a Coulson moment. I just feel like he's still Phil Coulson.
Oh no, that
at
was
the
to
root.
me that was super dark. That was like, oh no, kid, you're not coming back.
coming
You should
back.
take your stuff.
No, like, cause yeah, and you just see the look of like, and kudos to the kids acting in this episode too, cause you see the look of hope just die right on this
Yeah.
poor kid's face, because the second he's like, wait, and he's like, yes, Mr. Coulson,
he's like,
like, is someone
"Take
gonna
your bag."
speak up for me? Are you gonna give me some sagely advice or words of comfort? No, don't forget your bag.
Hilarious.
Goodbye forever.
It was. The sarcasm was. I didn't see any Phil Coulson until Daisy.
I feel like when Gemma came in and he's like, "Are you okay?" Like,
Sure, but then he called.
yeah,
Hydra
he absolutely threw her under the bus.
as a subversive was like. I just didn't see a lot of Phil Coulson until Daisy's emergence in the car, and then that recognition, something, and going through the files, he also was looking because Gemma said the magic words, which is "it's a magical place," which triggered something in his memory.
Well, and what would you do if you saw this person who looked like they had been buried alive run into your office, grab random knickknacks off the wall, and go, "Your memory has been rewritten before, and it's been rewritten again. You have to remember, we're totally buddies." Would you buy it?
Well, if your memories were like feeling weird and you already had that suspicion, I don't know, I might listen a little more.
Just like, go on, especially if they look like Agent Simmons, right?
I mean, at that point, it's literally like, it's like a crazier, I was going to say more attractive, but she's like real messed up at this point. She's got like bullet holes, and like she's got like zombie face on.
She looks like a bag lady,
but
everyone says this.
a different version of the Morpheus sequence, like when Neo first meets Morpheus.
Look, I do this thing sometimes, not sometimes, I've done it a couple times where I run into a Starbucks and go, "Quick, what year is it?" And I'm like, "It worked!" And I'll run out, okay? Because I'm in the bathroom and I don't know. I find it amusing, okay?
There was I think there's a list online of like different ways you can pretend to be a time traveler, and that was definitely one of them.
That's what's up.
Or like, "What year is it? There's still time," and then run off.
Oh yeah, I don't say there's. I just say it worked. I don't know why.
Who's the president? My God.
Yeah, this year you can
I
just
failed.
be like, yeah, this year it's like, I'm too late.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
Speaking of like real world parallels, I think one of the most ominous things in this episode was, you know, when Daisy is in the car with Ward and they go past that sign that what did it say? Suspect it, report it for humanity. Like, that was real creepy, because it's just a few shades off of if you see something, you know, report it, or
And we
whatever
have
that
those
saying
signs.
was.
See something, say something.
Actually,
Yeah.
we have those signs, and I don't know if you guys, because in DC we have those signs a lot.
They're
And
in New
it's-
York too.
Yes, if you see
regarding terrorism,
something,
obviously.
say something.
Yeah.
But it does cause people, and it does cause a little bit of panic at times.
Well, and not to mention that Hydra can just blatantly grab Inhumans and start beating them for no reason, and it's perfectly acceptable.
Well, the fear in the driver that picked up Gemma's, like, her fear was, it felt very, I mean, obviously it's a show, but it was real. Like, she was afraid. It was like, you need to go. And she was what seems like an open-minded, kind person. And that was
She
her
wants
limit.
to help people. She wanted to be a doctor.
Exactly.
Speaking of, that's a very interesting conversation that seems to keep popping up in this episode, is how human all of these constructs seem to be. Ward, you know, even though he's just a series of codes, feels like he needs space, like he's not ready to rush into a relationship with Daisy. You know, the kid who is being taught by Coulson feels the need to rebel and feels the need to tag a car when he knows he's being taught lies. The woman who picked up Gemma, yeah, she makes jewelry, she makes art, and she wants to be a doctor. She has hopes and dreams and legitimate fear when she realizes she's in danger.
Sure.
This is a really, really in-depth program that Ada has created.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder whether or not, like, once all of our team members get out of there, if they plan on shutting it off or not. Or if they just decide to leave it on and let it be. And allow that world to continue living.
The program has a soul, like that kid with the tag has a soul or not? Because it's been a reoccurring theme of do androids have souls?
Yeah, does Ada have a soul? Like, does her, wanting emotions and wanting to feel and wanting to be human make her human? And I'm sure that's something, and it's something we're going to definitely touch on here, because these programs seem to actually feel and think, where Ada just seems to mimic it and has a genuine desire to have emotions but doesn't actually have any. Hers is still strictly programming. All of these, AIs essentially that she's created, they seem to be fully developed people. Or at least they act like they do. It's really good programming.
Well, they do have in-depth background stories and background and thoughts and memories. Yeah. And we also see that our protagonists also have thoughts and memories that were placed in their minds, which are very fully developed to the point where May believes her life construct right now completely. Out of everyone we've seen, I feel like May believes it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have to at a certain point. I mean, I think part of the way that the framework would operate is not just like it's created and it's like a VR experience where these things are happening, but Ada is also utilizing their brains as sort of like processors and to figure out like, okay, well, you expect people to behave like this, so it like in real time it's altering around how each of them expects other, like, the NPCs of the world to react to them.
When there's a Hydra that exists, to create a totalitarian regime, there will inevitably be an underground resistance. And I can't wait till we get to Mace next episode.
Yeah.
But talking about May, I think she's probably the most tragic out of everybody's situations right now, because she is 100% dedicated to the Hydra cause, because she saved the little girl in Bahrain.
But then accidentally that leads to that little girl who's like, if we remember, she was pretty evil. Nuts and
she was crazy.
And straight up evil. To have they call it the Cambridge incident,
which
reminds me of the Stanford incident from the original Civil War book. So I think
feel
the
like that's a direct reference almost.
Yeah, I think the implication is that the Cambridge incident sort of launched this universe's civil war.
I think we're going to find out that the Cambridge incident was allowed to happen in order for this to be created and propaganda form. So that's going to be a secret that gets broken. Do you see where I'm going with?
I see where you're going. Yeah. I think it's more reactionary. Like they take advantage of this, like this terrible thing, and then Hydra's already got everything in place to instantly utilize it.
There's a theory that Pearl Harbor, since like the United States didn't want to, majority of the people didn't want to get involved in World War II, that Pearl Harbor allegedly was allowed to happen in order to convince the American people to go to war.
Yeah,
and I feel like the Cambridge incident is going to come out. Conspiracies are abound, and I feel like that might be the case. But because the way Fitz uses it to basically manipulate May when he's like, don't ever forget, as if.
Well, in a world where Hydra is in charge of everything now, I feel like any conspiracy theory is a valid theory at this point, because I mean, Hydra in Winter Soldier had spent decades infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D.
At every level.
Yeah, and not to mention that, like, again, we touch on it a little bit in this episode, too. Hydra has also been around for centuries just doing stuff and has lots of different branches. You know, some are just kind of fancy yacht clubs that just kind of hang out and smoke cigars and drink whiskey. Other people are, you know, the Nazi science division. You know, there are lots of facets of Hydra, but they're totally all Nazis. It's totally fine. Anyway, what else were we gonna touch on?
We could take a brief moment
to talk about
iTunes. That was weird.
Folks, thank you so much to everybody who's gone to iTunes to rate, subscribe, leave a comment. We love hearing from you, and it is the best way to let our producers know that you like the show that we're putting on. And not to mention, if you guys do leave a comment, you might even just get a shout out on the show. Do we have any new comments from the last time we were on?
Yep, we do. I can't remember exactly where we left off, so I'll just I'll read
It was
off
roughly a month ago.
Yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D. intern number 33.
Oh!
A certain unknown Koenig has told me Zach is making some new Quake content. Don't forget about your mature audience.
Oh my God.
Well, I think the mature
Why did
audience
I
will like
do
the crossover.
this?
They will like the crossover.
For comedy.
Yep. Serpentina Lynn, as S is going down. Ernie Werney, one of my favorites. Thank you for coming over from Marvel Movie News to join us. We can talk a lot more about S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm only given 1 minute on that show to talk about like the week of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hilarious.
So I go on a little it's pre-recorded stuff, but you guys can check that out on our sister network Popcorn Talk on Marvel Movie News, where I'm given the Voice of Doom's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. minute
A recap where we
seconds.
spend an hour and usually more than that talking about this show.
Yep. We are about to die, but first is the name of this person. Thank you. Thank you, NC7, for writing in. Thank you, everybody who's been writing us and tweeting us throughout the break about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like I've heard from people everywhere, from here in California to Oregon, to like New York and all across the world. Like, we love you guys. So continue to write us. We are 1 5-star review away from like being forced into what I promised.
Because
it's 599 5-star ratings on iTunes right now, which is an absurd number, but you guys are just that awesome.
We are
And
so
I
close.
made certain promises that you're just gonna have to go back and listen to old shows to figure out, or just keep listening because I've come through on my promises.
If there's anything you can say about this after show, it's that we keep our word.
I've made no promises.
Do we keep our wards?
No, no, he's dead. He's
Stop
dead
doing
now.
that.
I don't know. We kind of keep him. He's still
Keeps
around.
coming up.
He is here. Speaking of certain characters that have come back, I do want to talk about VJ for a little bit. First of all, in the real world, we still have no idea what's happened to this poor guy. But in this world, he and Ward actually work together as members of this resistance. Do we think we'll get to see Senator Nadir make a kind of comeback?
I don't think Senator Nadir is Senator Nadir because...
Well, she's not a
VJ
senator in this
No,
world,
but would she
certainly.
be an Inhuman in this
Or
universe?
would she be I don't think she's an Inhuman
She
because
isn't an Inhuman.
genetically she wasn't in the real world. But in this world, she might very well be an Inhuman sympathizer. And and again, this is a virtual reality.
Conjecture.
Ada could change whatever she wants. But in this world, she could very well be an Inhuman sympathizer and
Part of
a
the
key
resistance,
member
like
in the
of
resistance.
Exactly what I
Yes.
was thinking.
That
Because
would be-
especially
yeah.
with her brother, and that would be in some effect her redeeming quality that she didn't have in the real world. Is that
Heck no,
finds
she
in
doesn't
her.
get any redemption. She was straight up evil.
I mean,
She's
she
one
did.
of the
Did she
most
shoot her brother
evil-
and then throw him out the helicopter?
She absolutely did.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's what an evil
She is
person
one
does.
of the most evil characters that we've had on the show.
Or a principled character. It just happens that her principal fell.
Is evil?
It happens to be that her principals were murdering people she deemed not people.
Inhumans.
Yeah, and shooting them point blank, and then
did.
throwing them into the ocean to be left for dead. That's not cool. You know who else did that? Ward. Ward also dropped people into the ocean to leave them for dead.
How did Ward
That's right.
hurt
He
you?
did that.
He
Megan,
did that.
how
Yeah,
did
he
Ward hurt
dropped
you?
Gemma and Fitz into the ocean.
Fitz got
They're
brain
fine.
damage because of him.
And they got closer, and it led to them being tighter.
That was
and
not the
romantically
part.
involved.
No, that drove them apart.
It really did.
And
Yeah.
then they came
Mac
back from
had to come in and set things right.
and gave everyone a tighter bond. They should thank Ward. Send them a thank you card.
We still haven't seen Mac yet.
Yeah.
We have not seen Matt.
There's
The
some
last-
teaser images.
The last time in the last episode, we saw him taking a child's bike in from the
Yeah,
yard.
the on Instagram they put out a bunch of like drawings of each of the characters where they are, and there was this really nice one of Mac like sitting on a porch, just like being like the most dad looking guy ever.
Yeah, Mac's gonna be in the Resistance.
Oh, I think he's like totally out of it, but they're gonna need to get him.
Get him to be part of the Resistance.
Yeah, and that's gonna be, I
convince
think,
him.
the big resistance is he's like, I don't want any part of
There it
that.
is.
I'm taking care of my kid. And can you imagine how that conversation is gonna go? I have to take care of my kid. Your kid's not
Not real. Oof.
You don't say that. Like,
Oh. Well, and not to
Ugh.
mention that in the real world,
They're gonna need Mac.
His brother is also, his brother was a Watchdog sympathizer. So like in this world, Mac and his brother might bond over their mutual hatred of Inhumans. Because let's not forget, Mac, as much as we love him, is also the most wary of anything alien because of his experiences in S.H.I.E.L.D. Would he still feel that way? Because in this world, he probably didn't get possessed by alien magic.
probably more subconscious. Like he won't have like he's like, I was possessed by multiple things over the years. He's like, I don't trust robots. Like,
You know-
I don't know why. Just don't like them.
I know what's gonna snap Mac out
The
of
movie.
this illusion. No, his shotgun axe.
Oh, and they're gonna be like,
Do you think
Daisy's gonna take a shotgun and an axe, and she's gonna have to duct tape them together and hold it out to him. And she's like, "Remember, you have to remember."
he's just like, oh my god, I'm the smartest man alive?
I know my purpose.
Or if she's not even gonna duct tape, she's just gonna like they're gonna get to Neo state in this universe, and Daisy's just gonna like think into existence his shotgun axe.
Oh, can we get a shot of Daisy flying up into the air? Oh, that would be superb. Oh, like all Neo style. That would be so great. Speaking of though, okay, we're basically in predictions territory. It's
Well, I don't. We covered the episode, right?
yeah. I
Let's
feel like we've
officially
covered.
start them predictions.
Let's go ahead and move on to a more official predictions portion of the show.
There it is.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I needed that theremin music.
So Gemma and Daisy are stuck in this world, and yeah, at the very end, we get Coulson at least remembering little hints. Again, we don't know whether or not he's going to get his entire memory back all in one go. We see that Mace is leading the resistance. Now, here's the thing. Because they're currently trapped, I feel like there are two ways that they could be saved. One is by confronting Ada and being able to alter the master code right from her kind of central location, I guess, in Hydra headquarters in the Triskelion. Or other people, the people who are watching their bodies, getting another hacker to kind of create another opening for them from the
weren't
outside.
they gonna look for the doctor?
They were gonna go look for. I mean, what we saw in preview, like they're looking for Radcliffe, who, in this world, he is a perfect download. Like I think the idea is that Ada didn't alter him in any way, or maybe she did. We'll have to find out. But he designed the framework, so theoretically he would still be able to engineer a way out. The question is, does he want to? And would Ada try, even for Radcliffe, would Ada try to stop him? Or is there a way, like, is it a thing where, like, they can convince Ada in some way that, like break down, like, the logic of, like, the flawed logic that has led to this world?
Like, being able to prove to her that the world that she has created actually isn't the most beneficial thing for humanity. I feel like that's gonna be it's going to be really hard to convince her if that's the case. But another question I have is, because Radcliffe is a perfect download, the woman that Ada was based off of is also in the framework somewhere. Are we going to be seeing her again? Like, is there a potential happy, quote-unquote, ending for Radcliffe being with her, and maybe... Again, the framework being left alone once all of our heroes get out of there. Is that a possibility?
I think she's probably with Radcliffe. I have to imagine, like, that was a pretty clean thing for Ada to do in programming.
Make him happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Either that or she's just hanging out in that apartment really admiring that art piece.
Yeah, but we saw that they go to the Resistance and Mace is totally in charge of it.
Do we think that Mace is an Inhuman in this world? Like, the one...
No, because they established that he was exposed to Terrigen and did... I thought they... Did they actually?
Because he's not an Inhuman in the real world, but in this world, you know, the thing he always wanted to be was a hero.
And I think he's actually a hero in this world.
He might not be an Inhuman in this world, but maybe his biggest regret is that the super soldier serum didn't work on a permanent basis. And maybe for him, he actually does have Patriot powers all the time and doesn't have to keep taking those doses every couple days or so in order to have it.
I don't know.
I like no threat on his life.
I like him without powers and just having to rely on
and I think that's
himself
what it is.
and and
he's
that's
gonna finally be the man that he wishes that he was in the picture that was taken, that he wasn't, but it was assumed.
Yeah.
He's gonna actually be that person.
Man.
Or he's gonna have owned up to that wasn't him, but like that doesn't change that he can still be that leader.
Yeah, I that probably is his biggest regret, is that, like, that day he wasn't trying to save people. He was just trying to make it out alive. He was just trying not to trip over things. So yeah, his biggest regret would probably be not helping people on that day. So yeah, helping people on that day probably would galvanize him into a hero, especially when a monster organization like Hydra comes out of the woodwork.
The question is,
people.
who else are we gonna find in the Resistance when we get down there? Koenigs?
I hope
Please?
so. I hope so.
I want all the Koenigs.
It would make me so sad if the Koenigs worked for Hydra. That would be such a bummer.
I don't think it's a question of that they work for Hydra. I think it's a question if they're alive.
That's true. That's true. Hydra definitely likes getting rid of their problems.
Yeah, they mass grave. They're in the mass grave.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope not.
I hope not. But yeah, it would be really cool to see who else is there. Yo-Yo, I feel like might be there. A digital avatar of her might be there.
Oh, this is a good point from Black Jones in the chat. Is Mace Patriot here, or on this different Earth, is he just straight up Captain America?
Oh.
Because more than likely,
that would make him very happy.
Steve Rogers is dead.
He is probably...
Again, Winter Soldier wouldn't have to change a lot for Steve Rogers to be dead.
No, and I'm sure in this world, the Avengers are probably all... in some fashion, either
Zolad, the algorithm.
The incidents, they do make reference to the incident, which is Netflix code for. I think that might be the first time they've ever used that phrase on S.H.I.E.L.D. But in Netflix code, the incident refers to the events of the Avengers, with the Chitauri coming through and fighting for Loki.
Get video of the incident. It's crazy. So yeah, the incident probably still happened, but all of the Avengers probably never got together again. Like, they're probably all...
Well, if Cap is dead in Winter Soldier, then Ultron would
probably never happened.
Yeah, because Tony Stark probably just never went through with all those crazy tests.
And who knows, Bruce Bannon could be...
Banner.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry.
I was
knew
thinking
the chat
Race
was gonna
Bannon
yell
for some
if I didn't.
reason.
Well, in this
go for
timeline,
it.
maybe his name was Bruce Bannon.
He changed it to Bannon. He changed just a few letters so that no one would find him. But yeah, they all might be incarcerated, dead, or some combination of those two things.
Or maybe never existed. Like,
Maybe
this
he's-
isn't a different timeline, it's a different world. So
Maybe he still looks like Edward Norton.
Maybe.
it's hilarious. That's mean. That's a mean. That's mean.
Oh, that's so funny.
Hilarious.
But yeah, talking about straight up predictions, yeah, I feel like the Avengers are no more. So yeah, it would make sense for Mace to straight up be Captain America in this world. Like, mantle gets passed on to him, or he just takes up the mantle since Cap is not,
We'll see. I mean,
not to be found.
the Patriot could easily also be
Yeah.
his moniker.
Yeah. Again, just being, I think just being a hero for him, like a real hero who really stands up for people's freedoms. That's what he is in this world. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who else is there, whether or not we're going to get any characters back from season 1 or season 2. People we haven't seen in a long time. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this week's episode?
Wish list for characters that this episode was of course dedicated to the now late Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
So it's sad that we probably won't get him back in this. But are there any other characters that you guys
Probably
and you and the guys in the chat
dead.
want to come back that we haven't been teased with yet?
Bobby and Hunter.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yay. Yes. Pretty please. It would be great. Or even Lucy Lawless's character. Like, she died so prematurely.
Oh, that's a good one.
Virginia Hand.
Trip.
Trip. Oh, Trip. I miss Trip
Okay.
I mean, like, he could be alive
in this world.
in this. If Ward is alive after dying like 8
Are you
times.
comparing Trip to Ward?
I'm just saying there's a possibility of being alive in this universe.
So, El Predictador says 3 things. First of all, I like the Mac twist, right? They have to get Mac in order to get back. You like that? I made it rhyme. Number 2,
Continue.
I feel that Coulson is the one that breaks May. Coulson's appearance breaks May the way that Gemma's appearance breaks Fitz back into, hey, guys, this is all a fake world. Is that break? And that's why Ada wanted to make sure that Fitz did not see the picture of Gemma. Was adamant about it. In fact, went around Fitz and said, get the video directly to me.
Yeah, this went to,
Directly to the
straight to the director.
Exactly. So we have these breaking points. And number 3, I think that Skye falls in love with me. And I think that's a twist that no one sees coming, but I feel very strongly about that.
Like, Ward is like, I love you, Daisy, whatever your name is. And she's like, I'm sorry, Ward, but my heart belongs to Tehran.
Yeah.
And everybody in universe is like, who's that? That's
Exactly how
very
it goes down.
confusing.
True. I think that happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like that just about wraps it up for this week's episode. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been so much fun. Be sure to use the hashtag ABTVMarvel to tweet us your thoughts all throughout the week. Zach, where can people go if they want to find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. I've got a bunch of shows coming back here to AfterBuzz, including Doctor Who, which starts up in a few weeks. We just did, I actually did it for our sister network, Black Hollywood Live, the Iron Fist after show. So you can check out all of those episodes with me, Joelle Monique, Rick Hong, and Andrew Mena. And we just did a very fun episode of Sci-Fi Weekly on Popcorn Talk, where we just went off and all how we enjoyed the return of Rick and Morty that came out this past weekend. So check that out on Sci-Fi Weekly.
Tehran.
Well, even though I am El Predictador, you can find me at I am Tehran for now on social atmosphere, meaning Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. And I'm at the Laugh Factory every Monday and Thursday at 10 p.m.
And don't forget to follow Jessie Klein at JessKlein1 on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for the Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.